The Witch of Buchenwald, Ilse Koch, wife of Buchenwald Commandant Karl Koch, earned the name Witch of Buchenwald. She rode through the camp on horseback, whipping prisoners who dared look at her. Survivors claimed she chose victims for their tattoos, turning their skin into grotesque souvenirs. Whether myth or truth, her cruelty was beyond doubt. After the war, she was captured and tried by an American military court. Her arrogance and lack of remorse stunned even her captors. Sentenced to life, released, then re-imprisoned, she ended her own life in 1967. Ilse Koch remains a symbol of sadistic privilege and the darkest side of human nature, the hyena of Auschwitz. Irma Grese joined the SS as a teenager and quickly embraced cruelty as power. She served at Ravensbrück, Auschwitz, and later Bergen-Belsen, where survivors called her the hyena of Auschwitz. She beat prisoners with whips, unleashed her dogs on them, and personally selected women for execution, often out of jealousy. When the British liberated the camp in 1945, Grese was arrested, still unrepentant. At her trial, witnesses described her sadism in chilling detail. She was hanged at 22, the youngest woman executed under British law in the 20th century. Irma Grese remains proof that ideology and authority can turn youth into something monstrous. Femme Fatale. In the quiet farmlands of La Porte, Indiana, lived Belle Gunness, a widow who turned love into a death trap. In the early 1900s, she placed Lonely Hearts ads across the Midwest, posing as a wealthy farmer seeking a husband. Men came, bringing their life savings, ready to start fresh. None left alive. Belle poisoned them, stole their money, and buried them around her property. When her farmhouse burned in 1908, authorities found bodies everywhere, but the corpse believed to be Belle was too small. She vanished without a trace. The Black Widow of La Porte may have escaped justice, leaving behind a legend of greed, deceit, and murder disguised as romance. Mistress of Misery. Delphine LaLaurie was New Orleans' most glamorous socialite, until a fire in 1834 revealed her secret. Behind the walls of her mansion was a torture chamber where enslaved people were chained and mutilated. When word spread, the city exploded in fury. A mob stormed the house, but LaLaurie fled to France and escaped justice. Her mansion still stands, now infamous as one of America's most haunted sites. LaLaurie's story endures as a lesson in how elegance and horror can share the same face. A woman adored by high society, feeding her cruelty in silence above the ballroom floor. The Blood Countess. Elizabeth Bathory ruled her castle in Hungary with wealth, power, and darkness. Young girls arrived at her court seeking service. They vanished soon after. Witnesses claimed she tortured them, sometimes to death, all hidden behind the fortress walls. The most enduring myth says she bathed in their blood to preserve her beauty, a tale that made her a legend of Gothic horror. When noble families began to lose their daughters, the king intervened. In 1610, Bathory was captured and sealed inside her own castle, left to die in isolation. The Blood Countess remains one of history's clearest examples of privilege gone insane. The Demon Midwife. Post-war Japan was broken. Poverty everywhere. Orphanages full. Into this world stepped Miyuki Ishikawa, a respected midwife who claimed to be solving a problem. When poor parents couldn't raise their newborns, she offered to take care of it. Instead, she let the infants die, falsifying records and collecting payments. Over 100 deaths were confirmed, though the true number may be far higher. When discovered, she was sentenced to only a few years in prison. The demon midwife believed she was being practical. Her story revealed how desperation can twist compassion into cold, mechanical evil. The Moors Fiend. Myra Hindley looked like the girl next door, but became one of Britain's most hated figures. Alongside her lover, Ian Brady, she lured children into her car in the 1960s, promising safety and kindness. Instead, they vanished into the desolate Saddleworth Moors. The pair recorded their crimes, photographs, tapes, and souvenirs of terror. Their final act was witnessed by a family member who went to police, ending the spree. The search for victims lasted decades, with one child's body never found. Hindley died in prison in 2002, her mugshot becoming the frozen face of modern evil, a reminder of how manipulation can turn devotion into destruction. Mad Queen. In the 1800s, Queen Ranavalona I ruled Madagascar with absolute authority. Europeans called her the Mad Queen, but her reign was driven by fear of colonization. She expelled missionaries, cut off foreign trade, and crushed Christian converts under her rule. Her justice was brutal. Those accused of crimes were forced to eat poison. Survival meant innocence. Forced labor, war, and purges devastated the population, yet her policies kept the French and British at bay for 33 years. To outsiders, she was a tyrant. To some of her people, she was the iron shield that preserved independence. History remembers her as both protector and destroyer. Cromwell Street Terror. At 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester, England, evil lived in plain sight. Rosemary West and her husband Fred appeared to be a normal working couple, but beneath their home was a hidden graveyard. For years, they lured young women, some even family, into their house, where abuse and murder followed. They buried the victims under floors and gardens, raising their children above the evidence. When police finally investigated in 1994, they unearthed the truth. Fred killed himself in custody. Rosemary went to trial alone and was sentenced to life in prison. The Cromwell Street Terror remains one of Britain's darkest stories of domestic horror. The Kitchen Tyrant. In Australia, Katherine Knight's violence was well known long before her final act. A butcher by trade, she carried her knives everywhere, even hung them over her bed. Her relationships were filled with chaos, ending in injuries and restraining orders. In 2000, she murdered her partner, John Price, stabbing him dozens of times. Then, in a gruesome ritual, she skinned and dismembered him, cooking a meal from his remains as revenge. When police arrived, the scene defied belief. Knight was sentenced to life without parole, the first woman in Australian history to receive it. The Kitchen Tyrant turned domestic rage into horror. Arsenic Widow. Mary Ann Cotton's story reads like a death ledger. In Victorian England, she married repeatedly, each husband and many of her children dying suddenly from fevers. The real cause was arsenic, slipped into tea or porridge. Cotton collected insurance payments and moved to the next town, repeating the pattern for 2 decades. Her downfall came when an official noticed her offhand comment about her stepson, who died days later. The autopsy revealed poison, and Cotton's reign of quiet terror ended. She was executed in 1873. The Arsenic Widow turned domestic life into a factory of death, powered by greed and indifference. The Angel Maker. Dagmar Overbye looked like a savior to unwed mothers in early 1900s. Denmark. She offered to find homes for unwanted babies, promising care and safety for a fee. Instead, she murdered the infants, burning or burying their bodies. Her crimes came to light when a mother returned for her child and refused to accept vague answers. Police uncovered remains in Overbye's oven and garden. She confessed to killing 16 babies, though many believe it was more than 100. The Angel Maker's case horrified the nation and reshaped child welfare laws. Behind her calm appearance was betrayal of the purest kind.